Hi, this is Parker Mason. Today we're going to talk about community interactions. Community interactions are classified according to whether they benefit, harm, or have no effect on the species involved. Key relationships in the life of an organism are its interactions with individuals or other species in the community. These interspecific interactions include competition, predation, herbivory, symbiosis, which includes parasitism, mutualism, and commensalism, and also facilitation. First off, we're going to start talking about competition. Interspecific competition is a negative-negative interaction. The negative/negative pretty much stands for the two species involved in the interaction. In competition, both of them have a negative because both of them do not benefit from the interaction. This occurs when individuals or different species compete for a resource that limits their growth and survival. An example of this would be grasshoppers and bison in the Great Plains competing for the grass that they both eat. Competitive exclusion. This means two species competing for the same limited resources, causing one species to use them more efficiently and reproduce more rapidly. Even the slightest reproductive advantage will lead to local elimination of the inferior competitor. Another example of interspecific competition would be weeds growing in a garden compete with garden plants for soil nutrients and water. And about the resources, some resources like oxygen are rarely in short supply, so there's usually never competition for something like that. An animal's ecological niche is the sum of a species' use of the biotic and abiotic resources in its environment. Simply put, its ecological role. A good analogy used for an ecological niche is habitat is its address, the niche is the organism's profession. Two species cannot coexist permanently in a community if their niches are identical. This pretty much proves competitive exclusion. Another definition you need to know is resource partitioning, which is the differentiation of niches that enable similar species to exist in a community. And as a result of competition, a species' fundamental niche, which is the niche potentially occupied by that species, is often different from its realized niche, the portion of its fundamental niche that is actually occupies in a particular environment. Simply put, you adapt to what you need. Predation is a positive-negative interaction with a positive effect on the survival and reproduction of the predator population and a negative effect on that of the prey population. Examples of predation include animals like a lion eating other animals such as an antelope or another inferior animal in the wild, or an animal killing a plant by eating it. Now we can talk about defenses for things such as predation. Defenses include cryptic coloration, which is another word for camouflage, which is either chemically or accumulated toxins from the plants they eat. Batesian mimicry is a harmless species imitates a dangerous one, such as the hawk moth, puffing its head and thorax out to resemble the head of a small poisonous snake. And apismatic coloration, which is a warning coloration, animals turning into a more threatening color to give off that threatening appeal. Predators often avoid bright colors or black and yellow or red stripes. Another defense that I did not put on here is a Mullerian mimicry. Let me say that again. A Mullerian mimicry, which is two or more harmful species, such as the cuckoo bee and yellow jacket, resemble each other. Presumably, the more dangerous prey there are, the quicker predators learn to avoid prey with that particular appearance. This shared appearance thus becomes a kind of aposematic coloration. Herbivory. Herbivory is a positive-negative interaction in which an organism eats parts of a plant or algae, simply referred to as herbivores, which all of us should know. These come in three main categories: mammalians, which are the mammals, invertebrates, which are obviously invertebrates, and oceanic, which are the aquatic animals. Examples are cattle and sheep, which are mammals, grasshoppers and beetles, which are invertebrates, and snails and sea urchins, which are aquatic animals. Now to symbiosis. Symbiosis once again includes three interactions such as parasitism, mutualism, and commensalism. Symbiosis definition is when individuals of two or more species live in direct and intimate contact with one another, including all such interactions, whether they are harmful, helpful, or neutral. Parasitism is a positive-negative interaction. A parasite derives its nourishment from another organism, its host, which is harmed during this process. There are two different kinds of parasites. One is endoparasites, which live on the inside of their host, and the other is ectoparasites, which feed on the surface of the host. Then we have mutualism, which is a positive-positive interaction that benefits both species equally. An example of mutualism, it's pretty self-explanatory with what mutualism is. An example is the associations of fungi and the roots of plants and photosynthesis by unicellular algae and corals. And the third interaction in symbiosis is commensalism, a positive, neutral interaction which benefits one of the species but neither harms or helps the other. An example of commensalism is the hitchhiking species, such as algae that live on the shells of aquatic turtles or barnacles that attach to whales. The hitchhikers gain a place to grow without having any effect on their ride. And the zero, which pretty much indicates neutral, the definition of that indicates that a population is not affected by the interaction in any known way. That's a good thing to keep in mind. And last but not least, we have facilitation. Facilitation can be both a positive-positive interaction or a positive-neutral interaction. Facilitation is common in plant ecology. Species can have positive effects on the survival and reproduction of other species without necessarily living in the direct or intimate contact with one another. An example of facilitation would be plants like the black rush species Jungus Girardi. Reminds me of Joe Girardi. Never mind that. This makes the soil more hospitable for other plants species in some zones of New England salt marshes. And that is all I have for you today with community interactions. I hope you enjoyed my video.